Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome, listeners. Welcome, Sophie. Welcome, Monica. I'm joined by these two amazing women today to talk about their experience in our time coach certification, and whatever else comes up, right? Because obviously we've worked together for a while. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Sophie, do you want to go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sophie. I am a speech and language therapist working in the NHS in the UK.
Amazing. Thanks, Sophie. Who's also about to take an amazing trip to Brazil, by the way.
Yes.
And Monica?
Hello everyone. I just chills that I'm here. It's just such an honor. After listening to the podcast for a while, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. Um, so yeah, I live in Australia, as maybe you can tell. Um, and I have 4 children, and I am a coach for Catholic women.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for being here. Um, I actually think the first thing I'm going to broach today, because I think we saw it form really nicely, and we always do, is the what's possible in terms of like relationships and coaching inside this kind of small container. And what I mean by that is, obviously we teach coaching and coaching skills. But also we have you guys coach each other and peer coach each other and build relationships with each other and share in the community. And I'd just love to touch on a little bit about what that created for you in terms of, you're not just relying on going out and finding other people to practice on. You really create a community where you coach each other and what that creates in terms of the ability to practice, the confidence, and just like belonging or relationship wise. Anything there? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think I think it was like one of the best parts of the program, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, it's been so lovely to get to know the other people who have been doing, in our cohort that have been doing the training, and I think by like getting to know each other, it helped to, I don't know, it certainly helped me to feel like much more comfortable, you know in the group calls, but also um, it really felt like it created safety.
Hmm.
It created safety for me. I mean, it was my first experience of coaching. I'd been coached before, but I'd never really coached before. And to be able to do that with people that I felt comfortable with was so helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's like really important because I can imagine if I was wanting to do this program as someone like Sophie who'd never coached before, I would be like, I would be cautious potentially around coaching people and having that safety. And so the fact that you had that experience and shared it is so powerful coming into this room. It's like the way I see it is we are responsible for creating that safety and teaching you guys how to co-create that safety with us so that it is a really productive learning environment, which
Mm,
also involves connection and relationships and trust and all that stuff.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Monica, anything from your point of view?
I So I made it. So I've been in Time Hackers for a few years, and I made it to my first ever group coaching call live last week. And so that was something that I really enjoyed in the coaching certification, having the ability to talk to other people in real time. And I could make some of those group calls because they were on at different times. Just being on the other side of the world is just in general, in coaching spaces, a bit of a challenge sometimes. And so yeah, that was really nice. But in the group calls and then the one-on-ones, and and I think something that really struck me was, so as practicing like Catholics who are like really like we're all in for everything the church teaches. We're a little bit of a rare breed. We're a little bit strange, um, and a bit on the peripheries. And so coming into like what we would call secular programs is something that is like a little bit can be a bit scary. It's like what am I gonna like encounter, and what are people gonna think of me, and all this kind of thing. And so I think just props to you, Vicky, for creating something that is like everybody belongs, and it's like you can take or leave whichever parts work for you and your kind of philosophy in coaching. And yeah, that was just another angle that I really appreciated and was impressed by.
Thank you. That's it's really powerful for me to hear because it's probably a unique perspective that you can offer that I've not potentially heard before. So I love that you shared that. Thank you. I actually remember, Monica, if you remember, I think it was the first or second call, um, where I was teaching about the coaching framework, and afterwards, do you know what I'm going to say?
I think so.
Where you were like, that was worth the entire investment into the certification, which is a crazy thing to say, not a crazy thing to say, an amazing, incredible thing to be able to say after like two calls. Um, so do you want to share a little bit about that, that realization?
Yeah, so it was this idea of so I was familiar with the time hacking model, um, but so the it's never really about the time, it's what's happening in your brain, your decisions, and your relationship with fear and failure. And so I knew that, but then as soon as you said it's like you can sort of, when you're coaching someone, kind of put it into one of those buckets or one or more of those buckets, and then that can like guide you in the coaching. I was like, mind blown. That's amazing. Um, and just kind of that's informed just so much of what I'm doing now with clients, and just my ability to like laser in on the problem really quickly. And I've actually added another kind of pillar, which is desire. And then there's like four pillars, and they match up to the four cardinal virtues, which my clients really love. Um, but so I did these time triages at this conference I was at recently, and it's like I can just listen to someone, they tell me a couple of things, and then I'm like, this is with this particular problem, this is the thing that's like at the actual root. And it's like just so amazingly quick. And people are like, how did you do that? That is so ninja. So yeah, 100, like now look where I'm at now. And then looking back, I'm like, yeah, definitely that was worth the entire investment.
So yeah, I saw for anyone listening, I saw obviously the photos of your setup at that conference, and you had a sign that was like, "I can get to the root of your coaching issue in like 10 minutes." Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was free time triage. Will diagnose your biggest time problem in 10 minutes.
And you were just
And
like
I
doing
had a
that.
little worksheet that then I would like like take the notes and then tick off certain things. I'm like, this is what's really happening, and then this is my process, and this is how we like address it. And yeah, people really liked that. It was
Amazing. And
awesome.
you were like getting to their real problem in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Lots of people. So
yeah.
fun. And I love that you use the word ninja because I do think that way sometimes. It really is like slicing through the distraction of like what we think the problem is. And so many of us are, and yeah, and a lot of coaching, I think if you're not really thinking about what is the root problem and you're just solving the problem the client brings, it's like you're getting pulled into their story and you can spend, and this can happen
Mm.
a lot when we're coming at the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. And we're like, move, nothing is moving. There has to be something else for us to solve. This is, this is the root of it. This is why we continue to have a time problem over and over again because we're not solving the right problem. Um, that is so powerful to hear that it just allows you to be a better coach, be a faster coach, and get people results quicker. That's really
Mm.
cool.
And I think it's just helping me coach myself better and faster as well. And I'm kind of thinking about how can I teach my clients to just get really good at identifying like the process how I'm looking at myself
Mhm.
and solving my own problems. How can I get them to diagnose their own problems? And just because I biggest thing that I've gotten from both from time hackers and the the certification. I just feel like there is no problem that I could encounter that I can't figure out. And that I feel
What? That is amazing. There's no problem I can encounter that I can't solve. That's huge. Amazing. Thank you. Um, there's my brain, you know, when your brain like glitches when you hear something. So I was gonna ask you about something else. My brain's just like glitching because that is really powerful, such a powerful mindset. What was I gonna ask you about? I can't remember. There was something in there, but overall, I would just say amazing. And it's really amazing for people listening to hear coming at it from, oh, I'm already a time hacker or I'm already a coach, to see that like there are skills to be developed and you can get better through this program, basically. Thank you. So, Sophie, for you, I would love to hear how you think, like, how you've evolved as a coach, like how it changes how you communicate or manage your team. I know you're doing workshops now and things like that, but tell us a little bit about what's changed for you.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, like I came into this with no coaching experience, and I now do feel like I can coach, which is fantastic. Um, and in terms of what that has done for me at work, I would say it's increased my definitely like my confidence, and I think, and my ability to support the people that I supervise. And most recently, I've had a student on placement with me. So, a trainee therapist on placement with me. Um, and it felt really tangible how much more able I was to support her, not just with, the clinical aspects, but so much more than that with, supporting her with her time management, but also like just like little things like approaching how she felt when when she felt unwell one day, and approaching how we discussed that, for example, and just in supporting her to manage her workload, both the things that she was doing on placement, but the other demands that she had from her course and things like that. And I just felt I felt much more confident in being able to support her with those things. And I got fantastic feedback from her as well, which was lovely. And so more recently than that, I've also started to introduce the time hacker tools to my team. And just to be clear, that's not a team that I manage. I'm uh, have a lot of there's a lot of therapists in the team, but I'm not managing them all. But I'm delivering. Yeah, I've delivered one workshop, and I'm intending to deliver more about our tools. And so far, the feedback I've gotten is really positive. And I just think, I mean, I was listening recently to the podcast you did with Kim and Penny, talking about how relevant it is to the events industry. It's so relevant to the healthcare industry. There is so much so much expected of healthcare workers, and I think it's an industry like any industry where you're in a caring role. You end up, I don't know if it's the industry or the kind of people it attracts, but you end up putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be able to deliver. And that can very regularly leads to people burning out, and not prioritizing their own needs because they've got this kind of sense of guilt around taking time off, and what's the impact on the the patients or clients they're meant to be seeing, or what's the impact on the wider team. Um, and yeah, I mean, thankfully I work for a team that is incredibly supportive, and I think that's one of the reasons that, yeah, they're really, really willing to embrace these tools. So yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I really like struggle to think of an industry that like couldn't benefit from it. But I think it's so much more powerful. This is why I love that we do this certification now, because I think it's so much more powerful for someone in the industry to bring it in and be like, this is what's helped me. This is the changes
Mhm.
that I've made through it. This is what I would love to see us implement versus, like, oh, I found this podcast. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that does happen. We do have people approach us that way, but I just think knowing the industry and even the way that you deliver the tools of, oh, I know what I was going to say before about Monica was like how she's evolved the model for herself. Like, and we have lots of our coaches do this. Like, as Monica was saying, pick and choose. Sophie might find that there's certain tools that she's like, this is what we need right now. And maybe 3 years later, you're like, oh, now I could bring in this other model. But it's not about pushing everything on everyone all at once. And that's why a lot of what we speak about inside the certification is co-creation.
Mhm.
And just to share a little bit about my experience in certifications in the past, it was very much like you have to do it our way, and our way is the right way. And for me, it brought up my like good schoolgirl, I want to perform, and so there was a lot of making myself wrong until quite quickly, because I do have a rebellious nature. I was like, I'm gonna throw that to the wall. But I think we see such amazing results in this program because we don't tell you guys exactly how you have to deliver, because you are the expert. Like Monica, you're the expert of your community and your women and the people that you serve. Like I am not an expert of that community. Sophie, you're an expert of your industry and your team and your colleagues and your peers. So that the ability for you guys to put your knowledge and adjust it is what I think is like create such amazing results, both for you guys, but also for the people that you work with. Do you have any like thoughts on that beyond what I've said?
Two things came up for me. First, just what you were saying, Sophie, about when you're in a caring role and there's that pressure to deliver, and we feel guilt and burning out and all of that. I'm like, and mothers like who
Yeah.
are in a caring role, like it's not an industry, but and especially the Catholic moms that I coach, there's this like we should put other people first and be like humble and offer things up and carry our cross and like all of this, which all of which is very true, but it often gets um, taken in a way that it's not supposed to. Um, and the talking about certifications and our way is the right way. That was a very interesting part of it for me because I feel like if I were to do a certification, that's the kind of certification I would do. I'd be like, my way is the right way. Let me tell you about all the ways that that you should do exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Um, so that was um, really it was challenging in a good way. It was just really interesting to sort of watch myself interact with that and go, yeah, like see the value of that co-creation. And it was like a question, what's the is it oh my goodness, Socrates questioning style. Anyway, I forget what the term is, but um yeah, that was yeah, really fascinating. And I also really was struck by, I'm pretty sure it was in the very first call where you said you are already an excellent coach. I already see you as an excellent coach. That just hit me like so profoundly. The experience of, and in some ways, like I already was coaching, have been coaching for a while, and I already, in a lot of ways, do believe I'm an excellent coach. But the fact that it was at the very beginning and not everybody was a coach, and it was like, you are already an excellent coach, that was like a bit mind blowing. And just the level of trust that you had, and also saying you like you get to decide that you are an excellent coach, and that's a decision to have that self concept. And that is something that I've just taken with me in many other places. Like, what if I could just decide that this is who I am and who I'm being moving forward? And and then I've also been thinking about how do I want to see my clients as? What's the identity that I want to have for them from the very beginning, and how can I communicate that to them? Like, it was just such a powerful experience. Like, I'm never going to forget it. So I'm like, how can I give my clients that same experience?
Which is so fun because even asking that question, how can I give my clients that experience, is like fueling, showing to everyone listening, like you are an excellent coach.
Hmm.
So it's like it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. And obviously we go more into it in the program, but like this is exactly why I offer that straight away. Firstly, for we do get a lot of like, this was a really mind expansive moment. And secondly, because it starts changing how we think and what we question. And you just really reflected that really beautifully, Monica. So thank you. Um, Sophie, were there any like aha moments for you, or especially, I mean, I'm sure that was, or I'd even be curious to know how it was for you on that first session when I said that.
Yeah, I actually I found that um, I have to say I found that quite hard to believe at that point. I was like, yeah, sure, Vicky, that's nice. That's sweet. Oh, that's sweet of you to say, Vicky. Thanks.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, didn't believe it for um for a while, actually, I would say. And I think that's because like so much of it was so new to me. And I think it took me a while um to really understand what you meant by that. Um and to really understand what you and now I understand to be an excellent coach.
Mhm.
And I think as the program continued and that became clearer to me, I started to believe it more and more. And it was the like I guess my understanding of it is that um, what makes me an excellent coach is that I've learned to coach in a way that is so compassionate, so respectful, um, and that if I hold those things in mind and in as the priority, then I am an excellent coach.
Mhm.
And I just think the way, yeah. So the way that I mean the whole way the program is laid out, um, and uh, that sorry, I kind of lost my way here. The way that the program is designed, and the way that I was taught by you to coach, and what um, is valued within the program, it all reinforces itself so beautifully.
Yes, yes. And potentially what you guys notice is what we're not doing is giving you loads of additional content in this program
Mm-hmm.
because you have the tools in Time Hackers. And what we're really focusing on here is kind of like what we do in the time program, which is what are the most important things to create excellence. I think a lot of people focus on like what takes you from 95% to 100. Like I've got to get all the 95% to 100 and and it's like all this like attention to detail and I must say the right thing at the right time, and the versus like kind of exactly what we do with time hacking, right? If it's not time, what is it? If it's not saying the perfect question, what's underneath it that creates ease of connection, of safety, of respect, of compassion. And like that's what we're teaching over and over through different ways, through learning, through conversation, through questioning, through coaching. Um, so it's like it's quite simple, the program. It's not overly complex. We're not giving you more models and more things to think about. It's really intentionally like what are the most important things and let's do them really, really well.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think for me, another aha moment, which again came quite far into the course,
Yeah.
and is kind of related to what Monica was talking about, taking from it what we want to, and not having to kind of replicate exactly. But I it took me quite far into the course to accept that I don't have to do every single thing. As in, obviously there are course requirements, which, you know, we need to meet to pass the qualification, but not every single thing needs to be done and done perfectly. And I remember very early on in the certification, you telling us about that it, and Kim talked about this as well, so I'm going to try to get it right, that an excellent coach is not a perfect coach, and that you don't expect perfection. And I was like, sure, well, I can fully accept that I'm not going to be perfect at coaching. I've only just started. But what I did expect myself to be was like perfect in every other way, you know, like attending every call. Oh gosh, I can't even remember, like taking notes, you know, everything, like giving very detailed feedback, like evaluating myself in lots and lots of detail, like everything. I was like, well, I'm going to do all of those things perfectly because I can control that. And then get like, actually, you know, as the program went on, and you know, I'm still working full time, I've still got life happening, and then it got to the point, it's like, well, no, actually it's not realistic for me to continue to hold myself to this very high standard that no one else is asking me to adhere to, as well as doing all of the other things. And so gradually I just was able to let a lot of it go, and that for me was like just a huge learning point within the program, but also just for my whole life, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fun to see. Like, I do think any environment you put yourself in gives you lots of learning opportunities, different, like everyone will experience and get the learning that they need. But even what you just shared, so just before we hit record, Sophie and I were chatting about she recently wasn't well and she is about to take this big trip, and in fact, do you want to share a bit about it? Because I do see ties in with like not having to do the things that you don't have to do. So
Yeah,
if you want to share a bit about it.
yeah, absolutely. So yes, I unfortunately had a cold last week, so had to take Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday off work, which feels uncomfortable, but is what I needed. And I'm also, yeah, I'm flying off to Brazil on Wednesday for 2.5 weeks with my boyfriend. And it's a trip, I was saying to Vicky, we've been planning for almost a year. We're very excited. It's going to be amazing. And part of my decision making about, you know, when I was deciding on the Wednesday last week, am I well enough to work or not? And I've already done a lot of self coaching over the last year about, well, probably longer than a year actually. If I wake up and I am questioning whether or not I am well enough to work, that means I am not well enough to work. Because I don't wake up every day and ask myself, am I well enough to work? And on that Wednesday, actually, I did sit down and try and do a little bit of work, and I was like, no, this is not happening. My headache is too bad to concentrate. And so, you know, I took another day off and fully rested. And then on the Thursday, I woke up and I felt fine. And what I had in my mind, a few things is one, I don't want to take a lingering cold into the following week when I'm going on holiday. Don't want to do it. Not going to do that to myself. Not going to ruin my trip like that. But also, I'd already the week before done a load of self-coaching on the workload that I had between, you know, the end of term and so beginning of summer holidays and actually going on holiday myself. And I'd identified exactly what needs to happen and the things that can wait. And so I was saying to you this morning, Vicky, like before this call started, like I've worked out that there is one task I have to do this week before I go away on Wednesday. It's Monday morning. I feel very confident I can get that task done today. And I'm sure I'll get other things done too, but there is nothing else that cannot wait until I get back. There's no, and you know, it's summer holidays, schools aren't open, people aren't waiting for these things right now. Everything is okay.
Yeah. It's that thing we make up, like like what happened in the certification, right? We make up these standards
Mm,
that we think like other people care about, but it's really, they really don't, right? And when you see
completely.
that and you get to apply that, you really get to focus in on like what's important and what's not and put down. I think it's so easy to add things to the to-do list. It's so easy to do more things. It's so easy to make things more complex and complicated and not see a cost in terms of our brain energy, our resource, our health, all of these things. But like once you've cracked open the like, maybe I don't need to do all these things. What's the result I want versus the things that I think I need to do perfectly? Um, yeah, I think it opens up lots of potential, and I'm sure that it helped you, take care of your health and yourself.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I honestly like I woke up on Thursday and I felt 100% better. And I was
Yeah,
like, it just what it took was another day of laying in bed and watching films.
yeah, yeah. Doctor prescribed,
Yeah.
Dr. Time Hackers prescribed a day of films. I'd love to hear from both of you. Like, let's go further here. Like, what do you think has changed for you, for yourself, your relationship to yourself, maybe your relationship with others, maybe your work or your business? But like, what do you think has changed because of the certification, going through the certification? Can be in terms of like communication, can be in terms of desire, can be in terms of goals, can be in terms of even like what your week looks like or anything really.
I think for me, I would go back to that feeling of there's no problem that I can encounter that I'm not going to be able to figure out how to solve it.
Yeah.
Um, and there's just a real sense of calm and confidence that comes with that. And I think I just see that bleeding into every area of my life. When I start to like get worked up about, oh, I want to like do this in the house and then I have to work on this with the kids and then I have to work on this in my business. And then I just like, but I can just, I can't, I have the tools. I can tackle
Mm.
anything and everything one thing at a time. Like it's going to be okay. I know for sure I'm going to figure it out. I can time hack it. It doesn't have to take as long as I imagine always. And it just feels so, it's so calming. Um, and one moment that came up, I think this was when kind of realized that I had this self-concept was so my version of doing everything perfectly was I've done all the videos and the worksheets before, but I'm going to do them all again. Um, in from Time Hackers. But then I missed somehow the number of like all the past coaching call, like we're supposed to do 10 past call coaching calls and three of the ones during the certification, and then all of the Q&As. And I missed all of that. So it was like 50 videos. And then I realized this with a month left
Yeah.
and had a bit of a moment of like, that's quite formidable. But I like I was just so surprised. I was shocked actually at how quickly I went from, okay, that's a lot of videos to, okay, what's the plan? I'm gonna figure it out, even if it's can I ask for like a different deadline. Um, and like I'm gonna figure it out. It's gonna be okay. And just made a plan and just got to work implementing the plan with like very little drama and friction and overcomplicating it. And that I think that was the moment that I was like, there's just like anything can come up and we're gonna figure it out.
Right, that's so fun. Probably wasn't your initial response, but it is fun to be able to really sit and implement with like, okay, I've just realized something that like maybe my old pattern could have offered like overwhelm and indecision and perfection and how to do it and measuring every, whatever a former process was versus actually doing something where your initial response was, this is a lot, and your final response is like, oh, it's done. Like I did
Yeah,
something.
I would have for sure been like, oh my goodness, it's so unfair that I didn't notice this and now my life's so hard and how am I possibly going to fit all of this in and I already feel maxed out and like just yeah, I would have spent a long time indulging in that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it's interesting because what, you know, to no one's surprise, one of the big things that we hear from people is like, I don't have time. I would love to do the certification, but I don't have time. And this is such that beautiful example of like, you're not going to have time until you learn how to optimize your time. Like that problem remains, but once you know how to, you get to apply that to everything. So it's not like just, you know, just my planning the week or just my morning routine. It's like it literally applies to anything. Monica, what you said about I can solve any problem. It's like you can solve any problem, so you can solve any time problem. I mean, I just want people to sit on that for a minute, that like you either keep your time problem or you get the solution to solve whatever time problem comes up. What?
For the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life. So
Yeah.
good. Thanks, Monica. Sophie, anything?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to organize my thoughts.
That's
So I think one thing for sure, and this is related to what you've said, Monica, I think, is like my level of self-awareness has increased, and my understanding of my own brain, my own thought processes and how they impact everything. And yeah, my ability to like catch myself and stop myself spiraling so
yeah.
much quicker. Yeah, and not sort of indulging in that, pity party uh to the same degree. um
Which, by the way, even if we just like pause there, I think one of the things that we can often miss is like we understand that that takes time, but I think it also hammers our confidence. It also impacts our ability to make the next decisions. It also like, you know, there's such a cost to it that in the moment it's like this feels familiar and comfortable and that I get to avoid doing the thing, but what is it actually costing? It's more than just time. So I think that is huge if we can like cut that down.
yeah, absolutely. um and um and also, oh gosh, I've forgotten what I was going to say now.
Sorry, my fault.
No, that's okay. But so I think that I do think that level of self-awareness impacts how I like interact and communicate with others, whether that's in my professional life or in my personal life. um, and I mean, the other thing I think is I'm absolutely amazed with myself about is the fact that I did this certification on top of a full-time job, and it did not affect my ability to do my job. In fact, I think I've become more efficient at doing my job as a result of it. Um, and a lot of the way that I used to get things done was by being incredibly mean to myself. Like my inner critic was just like so loud and so unkind so much of the time to just get the things done that needed to be done. And like I would say, like, it's been transformative. Like, I'm so much kinder to myself now. Like, that voice is like dialed down, like so low, like I can barely hear it, like majority of the time. And then every so often I hear it and I'm like, what? Where did that come from? It's like such a surprise when it happens now. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I am almost in awe of myself that I have come so far in my personal journey. And I feel really excited to share it with people because I've found it just so incredibly powerful. So I mean, that's why I'm so excited to like share these tools with my team, because I really think they're beneficial. Um, and yeah, I know I came into this saying that I was didn't expect myself to coach, but now that's something I'm reevaluating as well. So yeah.
Yes, amazing. And also, so firstly, so powerful to just like own your own transformation and the change and to be in that point where something that was so familiar, even if uncomfortable, now comes up and you're like, oh, I mean, it's just amazing it's almost like hard to describe on a podcast. I think where it's like your brain changes, the dialogue in your head, the day-to-day dialogue is different. And that means that you can like your nervous system feels different and like all these things that change. It's so huge, but it's almost like it's just yeah. So thank you for sharing that. Um Now my brain's gone. This is Monday morning, 9 a.m. I'm not sure this is a good idea for me. Uh, I can't remember what I was going to say. Because I think sometimes I'm going to say something and then I notice something you guys say and I'm like, wow, that's so huge. And my brain goes down that little road. But I think it's interesting for everyone to notice is the three of us have had that happen on this call and notice our response to it. None of us have got annoyed with ourselves. We've all been jokey and human. And I think that's actually a really powerful reflection of radical self-acceptance and self-knowledge and self-kindness. Um, and that impacts really all areas of our lives. Because like Sophie said, it's also the way that I think about this as well is how do I communicate differently? Like even my mum is like, sometimes she's like, wow, thank you for communicating, like for meeting my stress with how you met it. She's like, you just completely diffused the whole situation. I'm like, I didn't even consciously mean to. Versus, she's like, you just didn't used to be like this. But it's like it's evolved our whole relationship and it's changing how she communicates, not because I'm trying to. She gets to communicate however she wants, but it's like those things that you don't think about when you're like, oh, potentially I want to coach. Now I remember what I was going to say, by the way. It was about the coaching career thing. Um, so yeah, I think it's really powerful to say that we have people every round that join and they're like, I know for sure I don't want to be a coach. And I'm always like, come and get the skills. So I love that you said yes for the skills. And also you get to decide then you've got the tools in your toolbox and we get to like evolve and explore and what we want evolves just like we evolve. That is like evolution in real time. So I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to say to people about so kind of two things, but we'll merge it just so I'm aware of the time. One is, did anything almost stop you? And two is like, is there anything that you would say to people who are like I can see how many people are like clicking and starting the application. And it's a lot versus let's say 30% of them are applying. So is there anything that you would want to say to that 70% that are like clicking and starting and then jumping off?
Yeah, I've got quite a few things that like I'd be happy to share that went through my head.
Yeah.
Uh, One was, you know, that I don't have time,
Yes.
and how will I make this work around a 9 to 5 job? We've kind of already covered that a bit, I guess, but I I genuinely found it manageable, and I am somebody who, well, until quite recently, identified myself as like really struggling to get things done. And so I think it's actually, rather than being a barrier, it's supported my development, like, and it has made me more efficient. 100% made me better at prioritizing, and reprioritizing when necessary. Um, I think another big consideration for me was the money. You know, it is an investment, and there was part of me that was thinking, well, if I'm not gonna doing this for a career in coaching, what am I investing this money for? And as I've covered already, I mean, I think the impact on my professional life has been significant, and on my personal life, I feel like probably the benefits for my personal life were worth the investment alone, just for like my relationship with myself. But
Yeah.
yeah, the benefits professionally have also been significant. Um, and there was one more thing I was going to say, but I can't remember quite what it was now. Hopefully, it'll come back to me. Um, oh, yes, that was it. I was actually quite worried, and this seems really silly now. I was worried what people would think of me for doing it, both in the program and outside of the program. I was imagining for some reason that I would be the only person in the program that hadn't coached before. That was a worry, and I know you reassured me that that wasn't going to be the case, but I was still worried that people were like, what's she doing here? Who does she think she is? But also I was worried about what people in my life would think about me doing it, and I don't know what I thought they would think, but like everyone who I've told about it has been like, oh yeah, that sounds great, like that sounds really interesting, or or have just been kind of like, fine, you do you, like I've never, I don't, not to my face anyway, no one's been judgmental about it, or I don't know what I thought they were going to think, but there was definitely, yeah, a worry that people would judge me in some way for wanting to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I literally made a career choice. Was it in 2016? 20... And I was like, coaching isn't a proper career. So I'm going to go into this tech startup thing that ended up with my third burnout and closing down. But it's so interesting that like it was in my head. I was like, this isn't a proper career. So I chose a different thing that like, you know, perpetuated my like habits of overworking and all of this stuff that felt like proper. So I can totally relate to that. And I love that you brought it up because I don't think I've thought about that in such a long time. But I do think understanding that like, we can have thoughts about a different career if we're already in a career as a particular a different industry. Um, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Sophie. Um, so what would you say to them? What would you say to the person who's like, I've not got time, I'm worried about the investment, and I'm worried what people will think?
Oh gosh, trying to think what I needed to hear at that point. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
I would say those are just thoughts.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, if you want to do it anyway.
Yeah. So thinking about this email that I want to write, that's like 95% of our coaches were worried about time, money, and other people's opinions too. Like you don't need to not work, you don't need to like not have those concerns in order to move forward. I think sometimes we think like I've got to be 100% yes, which is like never gonna happen. So I love that. Thanks, Sophie. Monica, anything to share?
So the first part was, did anything almost stop you? And I actually did get stopped. So I wanted to do it 2 years ago, I think.
Yes.
So I think maybe it was applications were open and I was a few months pregnant with my fourth. And then, so I was gonna have the baby during the course of that round. And I really wanted to do it. And I ended up deciding, oh, I think now is not the time.
Yeah.
And then when you started talking about it again the next time round, I was like, okay, I do not want to miss out again. And so I think I actually did apply. It was like pretty early because I think the link was there, but you weren't like promoting it. But I was like, I do not want to miss out. I've seen this thing, I'm gonna apply now. And then I got accepted within like a few days, which I was not expecting. I was like, they're not doing it for like ages, so I'm not gonna hear anything back. I'll just like get my name in first. And I think I was like, well, I'm not ready to pay right now. It was like 48 hours to pay or something. I was like, I'm not ready. I can't talk my husband into this in that time. And so I think I didn't sign up right then. I think it wasn't until I can't quite remember. A couple months later, maybe there was a discount running or something, and I was like, okay, we're doing it. It's happening.
Coach's bonus, probably.
But yeah, um so yeah, that was interesting. And I think I did have the things I mentioned earlier about worrying about, am I going to be like judged for being too Catholic, or like excluded, or also are there going to be things that are going to conflict with my faith and I'll just be like arguing with stuff the whole time, and like not verbally, like in my head, and I'll be like
Mhm.
questioning like, is this can't like fit things together. So there were those fears, but yeah, none of that was the case. And I think the person who is thinking about it on the fence, I guess I would say just kind of spend some time with why do you want it? Like probably you're spending a lot of time with why, like all the reasons why not and why you're scared, but like there's a desire that keeps coming back, which is how it was for me. It was just like it was just a really strong desire and it like didn't go away. And it's like, okay, what is that part of me? What's happening there? What is that pull? And spend some time with that.
Yes. Yes, we literally had someone apply yesterday, but they res we know them at the company, and they responded to one of our emails like, oh, when the time is right. And Elsa replied, and then she forwarded it to me, and like this person was like, I kept starting and not starting and thinking, and I was like, just apply and see how you feel after you've applied. You don't even have to join after you apply. But like, I think sometimes for people, it's like just allowing yourself, like you say, Monica, to be with the desire, do the application, and then sometimes people do the application and they're like, oh, okay, this is like solidified for me that this isn't for me. And sometimes people do it and they're like, oh, this is solidified that it is. But there's no like, you've sent the application and we're gonna come knock on your door. That's it. So I think it's really fun to even think about like, what if you just allow yourself to take the next step and to be with that desire? I do tend to think we speak about this inside Time Hackers, like decisions are either fear-based or desire-based. Like I'm just seeing more of this. Like we're either making decisions from fear or from desire, like both can exist. Because Monica shared at a point where her genuine desire, even though she had the desire to do the program, her bigger desire was to not do it at that time because of the pregnancy and the baby. So it's like you can have desire for both, but that's a very different decision than like fear stopping you. So I love that example for everyone. Um, Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for sharing. And do you want to leave? If you want to leave, Monica, maybe we'll leave your website in the show notes so people can find you if they want to work with you. And Sophie, maybe we'll leave your LinkedIn because you might be a coach by the time someone's listening to this, or you might be taking clients, or they might be just interested to chat with you if you're happy with that. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, sure.
Yep.
That sounds great.
Probably
Thank you.
Instagram's the best place for me.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So we'll leave Monica's Instagram and Sophie's LinkedIn probably for now.
Yeah, sure. That sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. It's given you some food for thought. Really appreciate Sophie and Monica coming and sharing their experiences and having that full circle moment of listening to yourselves on the podcast. How fun. Thanks for being.
Thanks so much, Vicky.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.